My Square Body Chevy has been sitting in my yard for over 6 months without a front clip and a drivetrain. It's about time we bring this legend back to life. Today we're going to stuff the Bankrupt 350 in my Square Body and get it back on the road for the first time in months.
Hey, want to go for a ride in my Square Body?
Yeah.
Feels good to see this truck in one piece again. It sat in the yard with no front clip and no engine for probably a good 5-6 months. You know, so busy with other projects that I just had to put this one on the back burner. Since the front clip is off and everything, I decided to go ahead and reassemble the whole front accessories. So it's literally pick the engine up, drop it straight in, you know, transmission, bell housing bolts, torque converter bolts, motor mount bolts, and the things tied back in there. A lot of things from the budget build 350 to this engine that you guys didn't know about because I never really talked about, but there were some upgrades that we did. Obviously, with us going with a air gap intake, we had a fight with the alternator to work. The power steering. Now, that was kind of an issue that we constantly had with this truck, was because of the bracket that we kind of cobbled together just never really fully worked, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I think this one's going to. So we used this original bracket here, which I never had when we initially put the other engine together. And that allowed us to get this power steering belt a lot tighter. That's the tightest it's ever been. So I don't think we're going to have to fight with that anymore. So that's awesome. But there's nothing left to do but throw this thing in there and make it run again. I finally got the dowel pin set. It's kind of a struggle with the four-wheel drive trucks. You got to fight it a little bit, but with a 4-jack like I have down here, and then your cherry picker, get everything at the right angle, and then you get to meet them up. And the big thing that I struggled with this time, which usually I don't in previous times, was transmission from side to side. Couldn't get the engine and the transmission, you know, to link up, as the kids are saying nowadays. So, yeah, basically I just had to fight it a little bit, wiggle everything back and forth this way instead of this way, or this way. And I just got the dowel pin set in, so we're going to throw a few bolts in it. Where are we at? Man, what, 2 days in a row now? This thing has just fought me between trying to get the engine back together, make all that stuff work, and then just trying to, screwing around with the motor mount for like 3 hours today. That motor mount wanted no part of being in the truck, which it was a motor mount that was already in the truck. This one, the one that was over here, is actually here. This one's shot. And, you know, it's sad. I mean, I guess that's what you get for a $12 motor mount. But so I replaced it and made sure it was same orientation, same exact spot as that one was. And the engine just didn't want to go in. But we finally got that figured out. I got to tighten the motor mount bolts. All the bell housing bolts are in, tightened. Torque converter bolts in, tightened. Headers back on. And I'm really hoping I got the distributor in right the first time. It'd be awesome if it just works too. Let's talk about some of the stuff that I spent a lot of time on last night off camera. As you guys know, we went with the billet valve cover adapters. I talked about that before. You might be noticing that those studs aren't in it like they were before. I discovered something. They send you these studs that screw in to the billet adapter and then stick up through the valve cover. And then I have these really awesome looking nuts that basically are supposed to thread on it like so and then tighten the valve cover. But what I've been noticing is that when you go to tighten these, even though I had them Loctited, these spun. So it would drive these down into the cylinder head, and it would lift and pick up on the billet adapter, which would then cause it to you know, leak oil profusely everywhere. Plug wires are ran. I got brand new ones. They're NGKs. Finished cleaning that up a little bit. But everything that needs to be plumbed up here, power steering lines are all hooked back in. I think as far as it goes engine-wise, we're done here. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to drop the starter out of it. I went to just spin it over last night just to make sure everything worked. And of course, the starter is not engaging with the flywheel. Why? I don't know, dude. The amount of times I've messed with starters on different projects because starters just don't work when they should. And or just flywheels different sizes and just... So I need to get the old starter that came off this engine back, but I lent it to a buddy, so he has it. So I need to get that one back, but we're gonna roll the truck outside. Let's hang the front clip back on it, I guess. Maybe put the hood on, you know, hook up some, you know, the old rad hoses and stuff. So we got our front rad support mounts back on. I anti-seized the heck out of these bolts because the last ones, when they went to come off, you know, didn't want to come off. See how that one's cut? It's because I had to cut that one. See that one? That one's cut. Why? Because I had to cut that one. I figured I'd put anti-seize on them so one day when it all has to come apart, when we go to restore the truck, when I restore the truck, I'll be dead and gone before this thing ever has one clear color. Anyway, when, you know, if it ever does come back apart again, hopefully the bolts will just kind of come out instead of me having to get in there and just slice them apart. So we're gonna tighten them up and the rad support's back on. The whole front clip is on. Literally the only thing that are missing are our trim pieces, like our headlight bezels, and then literally the front bumper. Everything else is back intact. Engine's in. We got the other starter that we robbed out of the Cutlass in. Engine turns over. The only issue is that, you know, remember before when I said, hey, I hope I got the distributor, you know, in time. No, it's not. That or something's up with that distributor, because that's two distributors that are kind of tossed together into one. All right, so after a little while of messing around, I found out what our problem most likely was. As you probably guessed, yeah, distributor was 180 degrees out. And when I say 180 degrees out, basically when you set these, I do this all the time. And the thing that I didn't do, and I'm going to tell you right now to always do it, I didn't have my bolt-on timing tab. So I couldn't line up the line with the timing tab to make sure it was where it needed to be. And you think at this point, I've done this twice now, you think I'd learn. But it spun around, and basically what you're looking for is when, you know, obviously cylinder number one, the piston's up all the way as far as up as it will go in the hole. And then you want to make sure that your mark is lined up with your timing tab 0 on that line. So your timing tab obviously has numbers on them. You kind of can't see it, but see how there's that 0? You want that line just about lined up there like it is. And then you want your cap and rotor, and what your rotor is this guy. When this is sitting in your distributor, when you have the cap off, you want that guy pointing at number 1 like that. When I took the cap off initially, the rotor was facing the opposite way, which basically, when I say 180 out, that's what I mean. It was 180 degrees out of rotation for where it should be. This should fire up and run now, and we should be able to listen to it run for the first time in the truck. So let's see what happens. She runs once again. Oh, that is so cool. I'm going to put some coolant in this. We need to let it, you know, fully warm up, open up the thermostat, a few other things that we got to hook up, but oh, such a win. So it idles all right, but if you guys don't remember when this engine was in the 84, when you'd like to get into it and give it acceleration and stuff, it would like backfire and stuff out the carb. And you know, obviously we haven't fully timed it here, but I have it pretty close. I mean, it's got to be at least somewhere between 10 to 12 initial. But it has that backfiring issue, and you heard it when I went to back the truck up there. That's all it was doing, just popping, backfiring. So the only thing that I can think that is probably the ignition module. And I say it's the ignition module mostly because I went through everything else in that distributor. It's a brand new coil, you know, cap and rotor. I mean, it's cobbled stuff together that's kind of been put together, but I know that stuff's known the work that I put in it. The only thing I did not touch was that ignition module. So I'm gonna take a swing in the dark here and swap out the ignition module in this, and I'll show you where that is. And I think that's probably gonna alleviate the issue. All right, boys, so we have our cap and our rotor off here, and our ignition module is gonna be that guy right there. It's gonna be this thing right here. There's 2 screws in it that you gotta pull out. I have mine there. And then it's just connected on both sides, so you have to disconnect it from there and then over there, and then it should come right out. Yeah, this is an OEM one, as you can tell by the way it's stamped. So this, I'm assuming this has never been touched on this, which usually if you're gonna have something go wrong with an HEI, 9 times out of 10 it's either your coil or this guy, just from my experience. So I have another one here that I'm gonna throw in it, and we'll see if that fixes our problem. All right, new ignition module is in. Let's see if we have any improvement. Oh, it sounds a little better. That cap and rotor makes a lot of noise. I know it sounds like it's a rod, like, or not a rod tick, but like a lifter tick, but that's just how much noise that distributor makes. I'm not sure if that's normal or not. Did the electric choke kick in? Yeah. That problem has seemed to disappear. So I think that's what it was then. Well, I guess it'd be wrong to not stab it out on the road and take it for a quick little rip, you know what I'm saying? There you have it. Square Body runs and drives again. I guess it's time to throw the front bumper back on it and do a really epic montage. Cool, let's do it. Well, can't believe we saw the day, but the old Dodge had a bail out the old Square Body. So what initially happened was we were driving it down the road, and all of a sudden it started, you know, under acceleration, started breaking up, falling apart. Yeah, then it just came to the point where it barely idled, and then it died. So like I said, my assumption is something is up with the distributor in this. If I had a nickel for every time a vehicle broke down on me, I'd have you know, a lot of nickels. It looks like I've got more work on the Square Body to do. All right, well, back to the drawing board, I suppose. Like I said, my assumption is something is up with the distributor in this. I guess that's what I kind of get for cobbling 3 or 4 different ones together at this point. But I think what's going to happen now is I'm just going to pull this one out. And the one that was actually in with the budget build 350, that's currently in the 283 in the black Cutlass. So I think I'm going to yank that one out of the 283 and stuff that one in this, because I'm just tired of playing games. I want this truck to just be reliable turnkey operation. I'm not looking to fight 30 million different things. And I want to go with the reliable parts. While we're here mentioning it, big thank you to my buddy Luke. He came and, you know, grabbed me so I can come back to the house, grab the Dodge so we could pull this truck home. Honestly, for me, I think it's kind of funny because I have a lot of friends that like know that we do the YouTube thing here on Bunny Revivals. And when I tell them some of the stories about how we've broken down, they kind of sometimes look at me like, what? No, you don't do that. You don't pull a truck 3 miles home with a tow strap because it broke down. No. Yeah, no, we do that. Nothing's faked here. That's one thing I'll promise you until the day I'm no longer doing this. So I got the whole old distributor out and I wanted to show you guys something. Now, this isn't necessarily the correct way to do it, but I have a socket that kind of fits on the bottom of our distributor here to make it spin. And I fully disassembled it. Remember how I said we had that noise before? That ain't right. Interesting. But yeah, either way, something is, as you guys can tell, severely not right there. I think that's what most of our issue was. So moving forward, what did we learn? Besides my hair being an absolute mess, good Lord. If your distributor's making a weird noise, look into it. Don't just let it ride, because then it'll leave you stranded. Something else that I did too to make it easier for us, before I pulled the other distributor out, I rolled it over so our timing tab matches with the line on our harmonic balancer, and she's up on PDC. So it should be as simple as slapping this one in, as long as I can get the orientation of the distributor right. Look at that, the old street fire going back in. All right, so she's in. One thing I want to show you guys, if I can get you in here, it's kind of tough, but do you see how there's no gap right there where the distributor fully sits in? Make sure there's no gap, guys. If you have a gap, what that gap means is that the distributor's not fully sitting in, and on the bottom of it there's a little like flathead screwdriver, it almost looks like. That rides on the top of the oil pump. So here is the bottom side of the distributor. You see that flat groove right there? Basically that actually goes in to a rod that drives your oil pump. And here is a small block Chevy pump. This rod, you see how it's got that groove on the end of it? That groove on the drive shaft rides inside of that. So basically your distributor drives your actual oil pump here off of that rod. So it's super important to make sure that you get it set upright and that your distributor is set in that groove specifically, so that drives your oil pump. Because if it's not sitting in that groove, you'll see it. The distributor won't sit all the way in on the intake. So it's one of those things. It's kind of difficult, but it's not really. If you pay, you know, attention, do your due diligence, make sure that that's in there, you won't have to worry about it. Pretty straightforward, but just something I wanted to mention to you guys because it's super important. It's literally the difference between a new build living with oil pressure or not living with no oil pressure. So there you go. All right, we're all buttoned back up here. We're about to hit the key and see what happens. There she goes. Ha! That really bad noise is completely gone now. Wonder what that could have
been. Breakdown number 2.
Oops. How bad did we do her? Oh, yeah. She gave up. Oh, yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Well, I wasn't planning on having like 2 breakdowns in the same day, but that's all right. Fast forward a week later, and it's time for the big reveal. I want to take a moment in this video to stop for just a second. I have to talk about the wheels and tires off this truck. The wheels and tires off this truck came from a parts truck that me and my dad picked up from one of our family friends and neighbor. This truck was quite the pile, to say the least. We called it half a truck because literally the frame rotted in half right behind the cab, and man, that thing was trash. But the gentleman that we got that truck off of, and we also purchased the green truck that you guys know here on the channel from his daughter. Like I said, been family friends with them for a super long time, and unfortunately just recently he passed away. And I want to take a moment in this video just to thank him. I mean, I've known him since I was a kid, and much as in the moment of getting these wheels and tires, you know, I thought they'd look great on this truck. It's just 4 pieces of aluminum, but they mean a lot more to me now, and I just want to take a moment to mention him and to thank him, because in some way, shape, or form, he has helped Boneyard Revivals. He's helped me with my business and what I'm doing. That's one of the things too. Ultimately, at the end of the day, everything that I do here creates a community, and the amount of relationships I was able to have and build with a lot of good folks out there, it means the world to me. And losing someone like him that I've known my entire life, I wasn't necessarily that close to him, but it means a lot. And it also shows you that life is short, and you got to be able to make the most of it while you're here. So thank you to every single one of you that watch a video, that subscribe, that like, that comment. I appreciate that you want to come join this community and that you want to be a part of what we're building here. It genuinely means the world to me. So thank you, and thank you, Wayne. Well, that's going to do it for this video here on Boneyard Revivals. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you guys really enjoyed the whole series on this. It is so awesome to have this truck back together. If you guys been around the channel long enough, I think it's easy to say that this truck is easily the cornerstone of Boneyard Revivals, so not having it around really kind of hurt me personally, just because, don't get me wrong, I love the crew cab, I love the Dodge. All the vehicles that you have seen on Boneyard Revivals hold a special place in my heart, but none of them can even come close to this truck. With that being said, guys, get out in the shop, start wrenching on your projects. You won't be able to drive them like this if they're just sitting there. Get out there, start throwing some wrenches, and we'll see you next time here on Boneyard Revivals.